So where are you getting love from? This is a huge question. Everyone needs to feel loved. But if you're searching for a relationship because you aren't getting love from anywhere else, you're very vulnerable to abuse. Can you improve your relationship with your parents? Can you improve your relationship with your siblings, with your other family, with friends, with God? Because you really need to be getting love from someone other than the person you're trying to date. Hey guys, welcome to the Get and Stay Hitched podcast. I'm Cameron Reckenmacher. I'm a relationship therapist and the founder of Hitched, the first ever dating app that combines values-based matchmaking with relationship coaching to both help you become the best version of yourself, but also find the person you're supposed to spend the rest of your life with. So today we're going to be talking about a very exciting topic, and that is what to do when you're tired of being single. I'm so excited to dive into it with you guys. So first off, a lot of dating advice revolves around this idea of finding the right person for you. And this language is really tough because it's not exactly clear what that means, the right person. That it seems like it's implying that if only you could find your perfect match, you wouldn't have to change a single thing about yourself to be overwhelmingly attractive to this gorgeous, super well put together person who loves you, not in spite of your flaws, but even because of them. Wouldn't that be nice? The only problem is that you haven't found them yet and you're not exactly sure where to look. If you're frustrated that you're still single after a long time of looking for that perfect match, maybe the problem isn't that you're not looking in the right places. Maybe the problem is that the idea of your Mr. or Mrs. Right, as I've just described them, is actually a bunch of crap. So don't get me wrong, I am a big believer in soulmates. I'm a huge hopeless romantic. I do truly believe that the man that I'm married to, for example, is my soulmate. So that's why I became a relationship therapist. That's why I started a dating app, is because I'm obsessed with love and helping people find their soulmates. And I do really believe that every person who's supposed to get married does have a soulmate out there for them. The problem, though, with the concept of finding the right person for you is this assumption that you don't need to do any work. You don't need to change anything about yourself in order to meet the standards of that person who would be a great fit for you. Compatibility is a two-way street after all. So if we want our future spouse to be someone who lives up to our standards, we should expect that they'll have at least similar standards for us. Okay, time for the hard part. If you ask yourself honestly, do I meet the standards of the person who meets my standards? What's your answer? So I'm going to say that again because this is super important. Ask yourself honestly, do I meet the standards of the person who meets my standards? I'm not going to lie, this question is really tough. And please don't feel bad if it makes you feel uncomfortable. No one loves being in a staring contest with their flaws. But the fact that you're even willing to ask yourself this question puts you miles ahead of a lot of people who aren't willing to and don't realize they need to be more honest with themselves about how they can improve themselves to ultimately improve their dating lives. So take this girl on Twitter, for example. Maybe you guys have seen this tweet. My husband showed it to me the other day. I know I'm kind of behind the curve on when it was first posted, but I thought it was really funny. Sad and funny, but also super relevant to what we're talking about. So I wanted to share it with you guys. So for everyone who's just listening, I'll read you the tweet. So I was dating this guy, kind of rich, and he asked me out of the blue, would you date a struggling guy? And I said no, due to some personal reasons. And he said, to me, you are the struggling guy. I haven't healed yet. Again, sad, but also pretty funny. And I think it's really a great example of the idea of meeting our own standards, especially since it definitely seems like this girl is no longer dating that kind of rich guy anymore. So I want to be clear that I am not saying if you're a woman and you want to date a wealthy man that you have to be wealthy yourself. That's actually not true at all, since men and women tend to not value things like money, physical attractiveness, height, and stature in the same ways. They don't end up looking for all of the same things in the person that they want to date and eventually marry. What I am saying is that if you have high standards, it's reasonable to expect that the people who will meet those standards are going to have high standards for you as well. So if you want a long-term relationship, just to be clear, short-term relationships don't necessarily follow the same pattern. But people who have their act together usually want to date and marry people who also have their act together. Okay, so just as a reminder, because I think this is really important to remember when we're talking about self-development, no matter what you think may need improving in your life, please don't forget that you're really awesome. No matter what it is that you said to yourself that you need to do in order to meet the standards of the person who meets your standards, that is only going to make you more awesome when you make those changes. Your value comes from just being a human being, even as you are right now. I think that's really important to remember. That way we don't overly beat ourselves up and get really down. Okay, so if you were hurting, asking yourself that question of if you meet the standards of the person who meets your standards because you've got some work to do and maybe you're not quite there yet, welcome to the club. That is the club of being human. We've all got a lot of work to do. The good news is, though, that through my work as a relationship therapist and founder of a marriage-focused dating app, I created something to help you along your journey of self-development. But before I continue, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to hear more about all things dating, relationships, and trends in American family life. And if you know anyone who you think would benefit from listening to this video, please do share it with them. It really helps us get the word out about the work we're doing here. Okay, so perhaps you've bought into the idea that self-development could really help you improve your dating life. If that's the case, then I've created a framework just for you. I call it the Forever Framework. It works like this. Picture that your life is a car. Your values are your headlights. You have to set up boundaries around your thoughts, speech, and actions according to what you consider to be good and bad. That way you know when you're on track or going off track. Your goals are the map. To get where you want to go, you first have to know where you want to go and how to get there. Your purpose is the engine. It propels you forward. You don't have to fully understand your purpose, which is good news because most of us don't necessarily know our purpose in its entirety right now. But just like an engine, you can still have your purpose working within you even without fully knowing what it is. And you'll start to feel that when you're not living according to your real purpose, that something's going wrong. Your engine is going to malfunction and a lot of angry lights are going to flash at you on your dashboard. Your health is the wheels. You need a healthy mind, body, and soul to live life well and to do anything productively. Your work is the gas. We have to put in daily effort to get anywhere, and at a baseline, we at least need a job to survive. Your social connections are your passengers. Because after all, what is the point of driving the car of life if you don't have anyone to go along on this journey with you? In totality, the three components in green, your values, purpose, and goals, are how you orient yourself. When aligned properly, they'll guide your car in the right direction even when the road gets bumpy. The three components in blue, your health, spiritual, mental, and physical, work, and social connections, are how you build your life. They are how we spend our time every day. So before you can start building your life, you have to properly orient yourself. In order to orient yourself, you have to figure out your values, start exploring your purpose, and set some goals for yourself. So let's go through each of these. First off, your values. The dating app we're creating, given that it's a values-based dating app, means that the algorithm tries to match you with people based on values alignment. So I've done a lot of work in this values space. There are a lot of values. Actually, about 20. I'll go over all of them in more detail in another video, but for the purposes of this video, I just want to cover what I call the fundamental 5. Those are the 5 values couples fight about the most and that have the most research showing that alignment is highly advantageous if you want to stay married for life. So it's crucial to understand your views for each of these values in order to know who would be right for you in the long term. Okay, so the fundamental 5. The first one is fidelity and commitment. Fidelity means essentially, do you want monogamy or not? Do you want to stay married to one person? And what is your attitude about having other people involved in the relationship? Commitment is how long you want that relationship to last. Do you want to stay married for life or something else? Number 2 is religion. Whether you're religious or not, making sure that the person you end up with aligns with you on your worldview really increases your chances of staying married for life. Religious agreement is actually particularly important when you want to have kids because it makes the decisions of how to raise your children and what beliefs to encourage a lot easier and more consistent. So, for example, the Pew Research Center has done some really interesting research on this, showing that children who grow up in a household with more than one faith being practiced are actually more likely to reject religion altogether than kids from a household in which only one faith is being practiced. So if your attitudes towards religion are really important to you and you want to have kids one day, then you really need to make sure that the person you end up marrying shares those views. Okay, number 3, politics. So this one's similar to religion in that it's a lot harder to be married to someone who disagrees with you on the political issues that matter the most to you. And that's likely because these political issues point to much deeper values and ways of viewing the world, other people, and yourself. And so if you have a fundamental misalignment in this fundamental worldview with the person that you're supposed to be married to for life, that's going to cause a lot of conflict that wouldn't be there if you guys shared that worldview. Number 4, parenting. This one is so huge. For your future marriage, but also for your future children, you have to be in alignment on parenting goals. Do you want kids or not? But also parenting philosophy. How are you going to raise those kids? Number 5, finances. So everyone knows that couples fight a lot about money, but the worst money fights happen when you have different financial values, meaning you have different attitudes about managing money and what money should be used for. So for example, are you a saver or is shopping your hobby? Do you keep a strict budget or do you have no idea how much you've spent with your credit card this month? These questions are really important to ask yourself to understand your attitudes towards finances in order to know who you should pick to make sure that you're in alignment with that person. By the way, a really important point about finances. Your current habits are not necessarily the same as your values. So for example, if you have a lot of student debt, say you went to graduate school. For example, my husband went to medical school. It was really expensive. He doesn't like debt though. So even if you're in debt right now, that doesn't mean that you like debt or that you have a positive view of debt. Just think more about the habits that you want to build and the sort of financial situation you want to be in one day as your values, as opposed to what your current situation is. Okay, let's move on to your purpose. So again, you might not totally know your purpose yet, and that's completely fine. But chances are, if you're watching this video, it means that you want to get married one day and you probably want to have kids one day too. So there's a great place to start. One purpose in your life is building a family. So even if you don't have your career figured out yet, for example, you still know that a huge purpose of yours is to build a healthy family one day. And that's going to be very important for the next step, which is determining your goals. So number 3, life goals. Who do you want to be? What life do you want to have? What's it going to take to get there? Our goals are informed by our purpose and they're also guided by our values. So for example, if you know you want to have a family, you already know several goals of yours. You have to find someone to marry, you have to commit to them for life, have children together, and be the best spouse and parent you can be every single day. So that might look like, if you're a man, maybe you need a job that ensures your family will be taken care of financially. Perhaps if you're a woman, then maybe this means you need to maintain good health to protect your ability to have children one day. Obviously, it depends on the person, but these are just a couple of examples that apply to a lot of people. So once you've figured out your values, an idea of your purpose, and your life goals, you can feel a lot more confident that your car is at least facing the right direction. So now it's time to make sure that your car can move forward consistently and at a good pace. So let's address how to build your life to attract the person who meets your standards. Okay, let's start with your work. First, you have to get a job. Having a job is always better than not having one. Maybe with the exception that if you're still in school and you're studying something useful that will help you get a job one day. You don't necessarily need to be passionate about what you're doing or even really like it. You just have to work hard and be as good at it as you can be. The better you are at doing what you're doing, the more opportunities will open up for you. I actually had a client who was a grocery store cashier. She hated her job with a passion, but it was the only one she could find at the time. And so because she wasn't necessarily qualified for much other work, we didn't focus our time together on trying to find her another job. Instead, we made sure that she showed up to work on time every day, avoided long smoke breaks with her coworkers who had started to make that a habit, was friendly and helpful to customers, and never left early. Her managers began to love her. They offered her a managerial role, which she took for a period of time. Then she used that extra income to pay for beauty school and the leadership experience she used with great recommendations to get a job at a high-end salon, which is what she ultimately wanted to do in the first place. And so instead of complaining about the work she was doing, she actually did her job as well as she could in order to catapult her into something that she was more passionate about. And this is the secret of jobs that people don't like. If you're doing a job that most people don't enjoy, if you try to do it as well as you can, you're going to end up being better than everyone else in that role. And it's really going to start to show to the people who can make your life better by giving you more opportunities. Next, what do you do outside of your actual 9-to-5 job or whatever hours you work? No one spends every waking moment working, and most people actually have a lot more free time than they think. So let's say you work 40 hours a week, since that's typical, and let's say you sleep 8 hours a night because you've got your act together. That leaves you with 72 hours a week that you're awake and not at work. That's actually almost double the time that you spend at work, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. So how are you spending this free time? Are you productively contributing to society? Do you take care of your home so that it's not just livable, but enjoyable to spend time in? Do you volunteer or have any hobbies? We can derive a ton of joy and meaning from our hobbies, particularly if our hobbies bring some sort of benefit to other people. Moving on to health. Do you exercise regularly? Do you eat healthy? Do you sleep enough? Are you dependent on drugs or alcohol? Do you have any mental health problems you need to get a hold of? How do you take care of your spiritual health? Do you spend too much time on social media? Do you give your energy to people who tear you down? Do you practice good hygiene? Do you wear sunscreen? Getting healthy will likely improve your appearance, especially since it's so rare for people to be healthy today, that if you're healthy, by comparison, you're going to be a lot more attractive. And we've obviously evolved to find good health attractive in each other, probably for obvious reasons. Good health means it's easier to have kids. But getting healthy is also going to make you feel better. You're going to have more energy, be more confident, be more emotionally regulated. Honestly, I'm struggling to think of a single reason why you shouldn't get healthy. Okay, connection. What is your relationship like with your family? How many friends do you have? How often do you see them? How do you treat the people in your life? Do you try to help improve the community you live in? Do you feel connected to where you live? What groups are you actively a part of? People who have more social connections live longer, period. It's not complicated. We need connection, and it can't just be from the person you may not even be dating yet. So where are you getting love from? This is a huge question. Everyone needs to feel loved. But if you're searching for a relationship because you aren't getting love from anywhere else, you're very vulnerable to abuse. Can you improve your relationship with your parents? Can you improve your relationship with your siblings, with your other family, with friends, with God? Because you really need to be getting love from someone other than the person you're trying to date. Dating is often a game of waiting, and a really frustrating one at that. But with the Forever framework that I've given you guys, you'll have a way to focus your time and energy productively so that while you're waiting, you're becoming Mr. or Mrs. Right, rather than waiting around for that fictitious perfect match to knock on your front door or to like your online dating profile. Thanks so much for watching, guys. As a reminder, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to hear more about all things dating, relationships, and trends in American family life. And if you know someone who could benefit from listening to this video, please do share it with them. It really helps us get the word out about the work we're doing here. I'm Cameron, and this is the Get and Stay Hitched podcast.